A'ja Wilson made history as the fastest WNBA player to 5,000 points Wednesday night, and the next, Kelly Johnson, is here to talk all about that moment as well as the Las Vegas Aces season so far. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and happy Friday. Thanks for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Natalie Heavren, and I'm a features writer and the Atlantic 10 beat reporter for The Next. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Today, we'll be chatting all about how A'ja Wilson keeps making history, talk about the Las Vegas Aces' recent back-to-back, and take a look at what's ahead for the team. Joining me today is the next Las Vegas Aces beat reporter, Kelly Johnson. Welcome, Kelly. Thank you for joining me today. The Aces are coming off a back-to-back where they defeated the Connecticut Sun Wednesday, fell to the Washington Mystics on Thursday, but we have to start with something that happened Wednesday night. A'ja Wilson became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 5,000 points. She did it in just 238 games. And on top of that, Gatorade also announced it will drop a limited edition squeeze bottle in honor of A'ja scoring her 5,000th point. So all of that in mind, what was the arena like after that milestone was hit?
Oh, the arena was electric. Fans were giving her a standing ovation. I think it was a sold-out crowd too, or very close to a sold-out crowd. Bria Hartley went up for free throws, and the entire crowd was just chanting A'ja, A'ja, A'ja over again. Before that, the mascot was holding a giant goat plushie as people were chanting for her and giving her the standing ovation. It was amazing.
Yeah, I saw the video of Buckets, the mascot, and my first thought was this was really cool. Second thought was this is getting discussed on the podcast because, there's mascots and then there's mascots with personality, and Las Vegas has obviously embraced A'ja Wilson and everything that she's done. What did A'ja and others on the team, either teammates or coaches, have to say about her reaching such a momentous accomplishment?
A'ja said it was a huge thing. She's very honored to be a part of that. She had custom shoes made for that game, designed after The Princess and the Frog. She said that she was very honored to, wear those shoes, tribute that movie that, influenced her childhood and everything. Let me pull up the full quote here. She said that it was her favorite movie growing up and that, she was very honored, and it was her first time writing something on a pair of shoes. And she definitely wanted to cherish that moment, especially with that childhood influence.
And, I'm not sure if this was before or after the game, but also on Wednesday night, A'ja Wilson signed a baby. What kind of cultural impact do you have to, reach baby signing status?
You have to be a legend to sign a baby, and she's definitely reached that status. She said she was asked about it in the post-game press conference, and she laughed about it a little bit. Said, the baby's not going to remember that, but the parents are definitely going to show pictures and stuff to that kid, and hopefully she has that influence on them to become the next A'ja Wilson.
And, kind of taking a step back, I'm sure we've talked about this on the podcast, not just us two, but because I know this is your Locked On Women's Basketball debut, but just Locked On Women's Basketball in general has talked a lot about A'ja Wilson. But can you just talk about the consistency from A'ja Wilson to accomplish all that we've seen her accomplish before her 29th birthday?
Becky's talked about it too. Since day one, since she was drafted, since she made her debut, she's always been on top of everything. She's always been in the paint. She's always been trying to be better. She's dedicated to winning. In the post-game press conference, Becky even said that if they would have lost against the Connecticut Sun, but she still made made that moment, made that milestone, she would have been more upset because they would have lost. She would have traded everything just to win. She's so dedicated to her craft, and that's what makes her stand out in the league.
Yeah, and standout, she has, she's put up fantastic numbers after returning from injury. She's had 4 straight games of at least 20 points. Can you just talk about her impact and what she's been able to accomplish on the floor? I mean, obviously this season, but also coming back from an injury as the Aces are trying to bounce back.
I mean, coming back from an injury and dropping, I think it was 20 plus points. That's not something you see every day. Like in other sports, if someone comes back from an injury, their first game back might not be their greatest. But coming back and still dropping 20 plus points, that's something that rarely happens. And that's also another thing that makes her stand out from the league, that even if she's injured, even if she comes back off of, a bad injury, she's still in the process of recovering. She's still so dedicated to pushing their team, being that leader, and guiding them to success.
Yeah, and I know she was only out for 3 games, but it was 3 games, I believe, for a concussion. And concussions are always weird. I've had a couple concussions myself. So just seeing her come back and continue to dominate like she never left the floor kind of adds to that, what we were talking about earlier with that consistency. I know it's still relatively early in the season. Does missing a couple of games take her out of, the MVP discussions, do you think? Do you think that she should be in those MVP discussions?
I think she should be. I mean, it's only 3 games, and even then, like I said, she still came back, dropped 20 plus points against Connecticut. I think she had 22 or 23 points. Her consistency and like dedication, like she's still in contention for MVP and breaking all these milestones. Last night she also broke a milestone. She recorded her 85th career game with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 plus blocks, and she broke the tie with Lisa Leslie for most in WNBA history. She's still breaking records, and that alone could still keep her in contention for MVP.
Yeah. Okay. You say that. And I know her 29th birthday is coming up, but she's already passed, a legend of the WNBA in a record, again, before her 29th birthday. Are there more records for her left to break this season, or are we kind of just, waiting to see what new standard she's setting for herself? Because I feel like every season that we watch her, she's setting a new standard.
I think she is setting a new standard. I'm not 100% sure if there's any more records for her to break. I mean, there always could be more records, but I think she's setting records herself.
But, last thing on Asia, is there anything coming up, an opponent you're excited to see her against, or just excited to see what she does next, continuing to ball out?
That's a good question. They're going on a huge road trip. The one thing I'm very surprised about with the Aces schedule is that they're only playing Chicago like way later on in the season. And seeing an Asia versus Angel and Camilla game, that is one of the games I'm excited for. And then once they play Minnesota again, hopefully Nafisa's back. Hopefully her injury recovery is smooth and successful. But seeing an Asia and Afisa battle, that's one of the things I'm excited for this season.
Yeah, definitely. Coming up next, we'll talk about how the Aces fared in their back-to-back and more about the season so far.
Locked on Women's Basketball is brought to you by Skims for Men. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've so often been called the Kardashian of women's basketball. So getting the opportunity to try Skims, knowing about their quality from friends and family, it lives up to the hype. I tried the boxer brief. It works really well with an active lifestyle, whether I'm working out or I'm just doing something socially. Skims boxer brief really works, stays in place all day. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Go to Skims men's section over at skims.com/lockedonnba or check out that section in the Skims store. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Again, skims.com now with Skims underwear for men.
So Kelly, I know you're fresh off of this, but what did you learn from Wednesday and Thursday's back-to-back? Both of them were at home. You were at both of them. What did you learn?
Against Washington especially, they really let the rookies get hot. Sonia Citron, Kiki Irfan, they allowed them to get hot, and Washington was making wide open 3-pointers, making easy layups. Chelsea Gray said in the post game that defense was their biggest struggle, and there was a lot of miscommunication. Going into this road trip, that is the one thing they need to work on. And Becky also said that it's basic stuff that they're not mastering, that they need to clean up and work and improve and become the masters of the basics before they go into this road trip.
And we'll talk about some other areas that they talked about wanting to improve on. Or I guess we'll start there. What are some areas aside from defense that they've talked about still wanting to improve on?
I would say taking better shots. There have been some shots that I've seen where they're not, it doesn't seem like they're aiming for the net. It seems like they're aiming, just to the right of it, just to the left of it. And I know Becky talked about this in the beginning of the season, that they need to take great shots. And I mean, Jewel Lloyd, at the beginning of the season, she was struggling, and Becky said that she wanted her to shoot more, and she has been. Jewel Lloyd's game has been improving. She's been fitting in better with the system. But it's taking those shots that are right at the center, perfectly aimed, even when you have a defenseman on you. Just making sure that aim is dialed in to the center. That's a personal opinion, but she did say taking great shots would help.
And I think this was after Wednesday's game, but I know Becky Hammond talked about, wanting to improve in the third quarter, still searching for a full 40 minutes. Do you think as they make those adjustments in defense and, quality shots, that will help them in the third quarter and compete for a full 40 minutes?
Definitely. She also talked about going into the third quarter, swapping out the starting five for the second unit, maybe even the third unit, just to get that extra fire lit under them. In certain games, you've seen it. Last night, Dana Evans was coming in hot. She had 12 points right off the bench. The last few games, Aaliyah Nye, she's been scoring some clutch points for the team. And giving that start five a break also allows them to rest and get more energy going into the later half of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. So that would really help improve their third quarter a lot.
And then, going back to, we've talked about where they want to improve. What were some things that the Aces did well during the back-to-back that they can take with them on this upcoming road trip?
I would say, against Connecticut, the defense was really good. They had a lot of good steals. They had a lot of good pressure. And even in the fourth quarter, towards the end of the fourth quarter, you saw a lot more pressure against Washington. And they were forcing them to take difficult shots that wasn't not always aligned perfectly. And that pressure, keeping that pressure throughout the full 40 minutes, that could really boost their season and potentially put them in a playoff spot if they continue to have that good pressure, good transition play, and good shots all around.
And then, taking a step or two back from Wednesday's and Thursday's game, I think it was Asia Wilson that said this Wednesday night, but she described this season as not the start that we wanted, and then added, but I think we needed this. I think we needed some time to really dig deep and figure out who we are. So how is the team building after that start?
They're building better. I can tell they're trying to improve their communication. Asia also said that they need to be in that uncomfortable situation. They need to be in a situation they're not used to, because that gives them a reality check on, hey, we actually need to improve on this. And it's difficult going into a season where one of your key starting 5 players, she's not going to be alongside you, and they have to fill that void. And over time, we've seen Jewel Lloyd make her presence known. She's had really clutch 3-pointers. She's had really great shots. She's starting to put up more numbers game after game. And even with the bench unit is not the same as it has been. But you've seen them trying to push themselves forward. And with these uncomfortable situations where they're not having great games, they're losing by 10 plus points, you can definitely see that it's frustrating for them, and that they're doing that reality check on what we need to improve on.
Yeah. And then another thing that we've talked about, I think we talked about it offline, but you talked about Becky Hammon's message this season and before the season was to choose joy. Can you talk to me more about that, and maybe talk about what some of the players are saying about that message? Because I think it's something that's really powerful.
So on Sunday, one of the reporters at T-Mobile Arena talked about, or asked her that, this team was one of the, I don't want to say was one. The way he worded it was, they're known for being the most joyful team in the league, especially based off of their content and how much fun they always appear to have with each other. But this season, they're off to a rough start. They're struggling. And Becky said that, first of all, they have to differentiate joy and happiness, because happiness is circumstantial, and in the locker room, in the Aces headquarters, it's not a happy situation with this start off to the season. But they have to choose joy, because joy is more of the mindset aspect of it. There's things to be grateful for, there's things to work on. They have to be grateful for the opportunities they're given. And I asked Asia about that on Sunday, I'm currently pulling it up right now. And she said, Asia Wilson said that the thing about choosing joy is understanding that you have to rely on your faith. You have to rely on something you may not see every single day, and you have to have that belief. And she also said, when I come into work every single day and I see my teammates, they all give me the joy that I need, to love what I do and to have a better opportunity to get better. And the takeaway from that is, joy. Her joy is not circumstantial. The team's joy should not be circumstantial. They should go into work, love what they do, grateful for the opportunity, and even if the season is rough, there's still a lot to be grateful for. And they get to go into work, they get to see players that they made bonds with, they get to see their friends every day. And that's honestly a good, optimistic outlook on this start to the season.
Yeah, and I think the message about choosing joy is one that, you know, can apply to everyone everywhere. So thank you for telling me and all of our listeners more about that. But coming up next, we'll chat about what's ahead for the Aces, starting with the Phoenix Mercury on Sunday. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. My favorite part of the summer is deciding last minute to go to a baseball game with family and friends, which is where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I love that I can see the view from my seat in the app before I buy, so I know exactly where I'll be sitting and what my view will be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So, Kelly, the Aces' next game is Sunday against the Mercury. As you mentioned, the start of a big road trip. What are some keys to the team's success and avenging a loss from earlier this month?
So the last game they played against Phoenix, it was a 76-70 loss. But one of the key factors was that Asia Wilson was out. Having her back on the court, back in that leadership position, that's going to be that's going to be a huge key factor, especially since the last game she was out, and the bench is also going to play a huge critical role against Connecticut. I think Kirsten Bell had some key points. She had some critical shots. Dana Evans, Aaliyah Nye, Tiffany Mitchell, they're all going to be key factors going into this game against Phoenix.
Who's someone that's impressed you so far this season? For me, I've been really impressed with rookie Aaliyah Nye and what she's been able to do so far this season and her opportunities.
She's impressed me too. I think she was an steal in the usually with the Aces draft picks, a lot of people are like, why did they draft her when this player was available? And she was the perfect fit. She's shown professionalism since day one. Becky's talked about this over and over again, that she's playing the right way. She's very self-correcting. She makes a mistake, she immediately fixes it. She doesn't make that same mistake again. And her days at Alabama and even at Illinois, she was a shooter. She knows how to make critical shots. She knows when to make critical shots, and she has shown that this season, virtually improving game after game after game.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that you think could kind of follow in her footsteps and maybe have a breakout moment as the season continues?
I really want Liz Kitley to have a breakout moment. I get it, coming off of an ACL tear, it's hard. And I feel bad whenever she's on the court because not like she's playing her heart out. It's the fans behind us, behind the media table. And I hear a lot of things from all different kinds of fans, but there are some fans that get really upset when she's on the court because they're like, oh, get her off, blah, blah, blah. She's still a rookie. She's still trying to develop. And especially after a very serious injury, she's still making her way back. And I want her to have that breakout moment. I want her to prove the haters wrong, essentially. She deserves that moment. And like with her days at Virginia Tech, she's been amazing. She's a record breaker at Virginia Tech. She could potentially be the next Aja Wilson. And she deserves to show that she earned her spot and that she is a fit for the Aces.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see her continue and hopefully have that breakout game, as you mentioned. Always love a comeback moment, and those are always great to see. What are you looking forward to learning about the team as the season continues? I know we're maybe 30 to 40% of the way through the season so far.
I'm looking forward to learning more about the bench and learning more about their stories. I've done a feature on Aaliyah Nye. I've done a feature on Dana Evans. I'm excited to learn more about Joyner Holmes because she recently came, and with the amount of time she's given, she has scoring. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of her skill set and just learning more about her as a person.
Yeah, excited for what you continue to write. I loved your story on Aaliyah Nye. I saw her play down in West Palm Beach against Richmond back in December. She was 4 of 7 from behind the arc, and just excited to see her continue. And as you talk about, I'm right there with you. With excited to see how the bench continues to develop and shine in the opportunities that they get. Well, thank you for joining me today. Where can the people find you and your coverage?
My Instagram handle is down there. I also have an Instagram account, Kelly Rose Sports, which will be posted eventually on my main Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I'll be sharing all my stories on there.
And for our listeners on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts, her handle is at KXLLYRVSE. Thanks for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen today. For your second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no off season. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.